Glycans are, as a concept, even in the scientific community, there's still a lot of education remaining. So maybe we start from glycans. So if we look at the cell biology, we have four components, which is DNA, protein, lipid, and carb. And carbs are also glycans. Now, the problem is when you think of carbs, as individuals, you think of the carbs you're eating and maybe how your biology is responding to that. This is also how physicians think about it. What we forget is that actually these carbs evolved as a language for our biology to communicate. So they're this kind of like last step in evolution, which enabled us to be multicellular. So that's the type of carbs we look at. So you have all of these key processes where carbs are involved, glycans are involved, you just don't know them by name. One is blood groups. So glycans in your blood cells would define your blood group. Your immune system would largely communicate through them. For example, cancer would disguise itself in these healthy, good-looking glycans to evade immune surveillance. And even conception happens because of glycans, because it's a foreign entity that covers itself in good glycans and evades the woman's immune system. So they kind of play a key role in all these processes since we were multicellular, but there's very little understanding of them. Where we understand them is the immune system. So this is largely all of our research focus for the last 30 years. But you also have them on lipids, you have them in so many other places that we just haven't yet explored. But when we look at them on the immune system and we look at aging, we mainly see that on the adaptive immune system. And there, it kind of changes the composition of glycans on your antibodies. You would have more of these anti-inflammatory ones when you're young and less of these pro-inflammatory structures. And then this composition would change where that shifts. So you have more of these pro-inflammatory ones as you age and less of these anti-inflammatory ones. So this is the inflammation theory. But then this is a core mechanism of most of our diseases. So an overactive immune system is autoimmunity, but a lot of cardiometabolic diseases have this like sterile, slowly accumulating inflammation as a key mechanism. And cancer is your immune system not killing something that it was very good at when it was much younger. So it's a core mechanism, majority of our disease. And what's unique about glycans, because there's something in between your genes and what's happening to your biology throughout life. So they incorporate your genetics, epigenetics, and your environment. They can really nicely tell us early on this time to disease. So if we look at particular glycan signatures, we can see up to 10 years in advance that you are heading towards an autoimmune condition or cardiovascular disease or diabetes. And they're not genetically fixed. So they would, yeah, sorry, I can hear you.
You're saying you can predict 10 years in advance
what
will happen. Wow, okay.
Yeah, so this is all research cohorts. You have people when they're healthy, you follow them for 10, 20 years, and then you see how their glycan patterns would change. And we would see these changes up to 10 years in advance. But even more interestingly, they respond to intervention. They're not fixed. So what we see would predict hypertension responds to physical activity. And what we see would predict insulin resistance or diabetes responds to caloric restriction or weight loss. So the difference here, of course, these are all things we know we should be doing. You know, don't eat too much and exercise. But it's a little bit different when you have this feedback 10 years in advance. So you can tell you, hey, you will develop that, you know, you're heading towards diabetes. It's time to lose weight now. It's time to do this hard lifestyle change now before you have a problem. Because what happens today, you get a diagnosis. You go in for a blood test, and the only point that you'll identify the issue is when you already have the hypertension or you have diabetes. Before then, nobody's going to give you a warning for it.